younglings looking up at the stars, you have to know that this day that you're alive is quantifiably the best day that's ever happened, and that tomorrow will be even better than this day in terms of the capacity for discovery, the amount of data that exists. Again, it's not my opinion. That's just an empirical fact of the state of genetics research, knowledge, accretion of humanity's acumen for many disciplines. So with that ability to do so many things, it can be sometimes just terrifying. Well, what do I pick? If I could do everything and this is the most possibility ever in human history, how do you pick one thing to do? And that's just the thing. What do you find yourself daydreaming about? What's the thing that what keeps you up at night? And if you don't have anything that keeps you up at night sometimes, you go find something that keeps you up at night. Because that is kind of this, sometimes I feel like if I get woken up by someone on the inside of my skull who's knocking, trying to get out. It's kind of that almost haunting feeling of, I need to wake up. There's things that have to be done. There are questions I don't know the answer to. And a lot of times it's as simple as, how do we engineer cells to survive more radiation? But I read a paper and then it came back to me a week later. I thought, oh, wait, we could use some of these tools or these genes or these methods. Really, being pleasantly haunted by something is a wonderful place to be, and find that thing that bothers you, because there'll be good days and there'll be bad days, but you want to have, even on the worst possible days, working on the thing that you love the most. And then all the usual, normal phrases apply. Like then you never work a day in your life if you have a job you love, the usual phrases, but
Yes.
but it's true. And it's actually really hard to find. I think a lot of times you'll have to do work for random jobs that maybe you don't like for 5 or even 10 years, right? Or you might have to go to school for 10 to 15 to 20 years to finally get to the right spot where you have the knowledge, the experience, and even frankly just reputation that people trust you. You've done enough good work, and only then can you really do the thing you love most. But so you have to be a little bit patient, and impatient at the same time. You have to do both. Like many people, had friends I've lost. I had a friend when I was younger who committed suicide, and that was actually. I remember being so struck of, I couldn't understand it. I didn't understand mental illness at the time. I was very young. I was only, I think, 11 at the time. And I really was confused more than anything else about how could someone take their life. And I actually, once I got over sort of the grief of it all, it cemented in my head that I would, never commit suicide. I actually tell this to my wife, is that, if it looks like I hung myself, go find my killer, because I would never do it.
Yeah.
It's got to be staged. And, but at the same time, I've begun to appreciate there are times where the suffering is so great and diseases can be so awful that sometimes, euthanasia, it is as an actual exit. But I just have friends I've lost along the way, but that's not too different. Everyone has people they've lost along the way. But I actually was never too dark of a childhood or of a dark place. I mean, the hardest things have been really weird relationship breakups where I felt like, falling in love and then losing that person, just breaking up, not like they died, but where you felt like, you just could barely move, and like you literally felt like your heart was moved in your body to a different location, and that sort of scraping sense of existence but also at the same time, that's been where I've in some ways been the most alive, where I lost what I thought at the time was the love of my life, but then was able to actually, I think, carve a deeper trench into my heart, which then could be filled more with joy. I would say is what Pablo Neruda wrote about this, and Khalil Gibran, is that the deepest sorrows, I think, later have translated into my life as to places that can be filled with greater amounts of joy. Not at the time, but for a while, it's just a giant empty cavern full of like blood and tears and pain. But then, it comes later, I'd say. I think I want to do as much as I can. Like I feel like I would die. I feel like I've lived a full life already. I actually believe that since age 17 onward. I feel like even then, then the bar was low. I feel like, I'd had at least sex once. I had good friends.
What else is there?
Good times right at that age. But then I had also really read a lot of philosophy, had traveled a bit, felt like I'd started to at least see the world and had lived a somewhat of a life. But that from then on, I felt like that I wouldn't feel like I was cheated if I had died from that day forward, that I had gotten at least enough of life to feel like that I would be not okay with dying, but that I feel like I knew I was going to die. I wasn't afraid I was going to die. And it actually was very liberating. And it's only gotten better since then. So I think, some of that may or may not have been drug-related euphoria, but nonetheless, the joy stuck. And I think it's just gotten more true ever since, is that the default state is one of very rich appreciation, because it's so fleeting. And so I know I would die. I knew I would die happy, I guess, even at age 17. But now my metrics have changed a little bit. It's not. I've had sex more than one time now, so that's really big. To serve as the guardians of life itself. That is the duty for our species is to recognize and really manifest this unique responsibility that we have, and only we have so far. So I think, yeah, to me the meaning of life is for life to, in its simplest form, is to be able to survive, but to leverage the frailty of life into its ability to protect itself. And quite literally, the guardians of the galaxy is basically what we are. We're guarding we're guarding ourselves and also life. I mean, life is just so precious. As far as we know, it is completely rare in the universe. And I do think a lot, well, what if this is the only universe that's ever come in and it won't come back again? And like, this is it. And if that's true, we have to serve as its shepherds.